Good Saturday morning to you, and welcome to the Sleep Show alongside Dr. Bethaney Brenner. I am Gary Byron. You can find her online at theburlingtondentist.com, theburlingtondentist.com. If you want to, if you've got a quick comment or a concern, a question, and you just don't have access to a phone, or you work crazy hours and it would be inappropriate to call somebody at that hour, then send her an email. You can do that to drbrennerradio@gmail.com, Brenner, by the way. If you can give her a buzz, you should certainly do that. 860-673-7155. Let me slow that down a little bit. Got a pen? Got a piece of paper? Right? Come on, quick. Ready? 860-673-7155. And you know what? No worries if you didn't get it. I'll repeat it at least 2 more times before the show is over. And one of the things that I usually say it more towards the end of the show is if you've missed any of our previous shows or previous episodes, I should say, I strongly recommend you going back to them. And they're all just about a half an hour long because there's a wealth of information. You know, we were talking a little bit off air. I said, you know, we hear back from you, the listener on this show, and how diverse it is. We're talking nutrition. We're talking dental. I mean, she's a dentist, you know, even though the show's more about sleep. And we talk about sleep and sleep apnea. But they're all... If you've learned anything from the time that you've spent with us on this show, then you've learned how they're all interlinked. Anyhow, good morning. It's great to see you, Doc.
Good morning.
But
good morning.
My statement there's some validity to that. They are kind of intermingled together.
Yeah, you're hearing and I'm hearing some of the same things. And I hope the listeners are excited about our next topics because I try to make things easy, take home, hope I'm being clear and educating you on what things you can do at home, what questions you can ask your doctors, and see if we can help get you some better sleep.
Speaking of which, we were talking about nutrition last week. Diet, nutrition, what we eat, that affects our sleep. I'll make a statement, and then I'm going to let you take the ball and run with it. I've always heard... I'm not even sure why. I think when you're a little kid, they tell you it's going to affect your dreams. You know, you don't want to have nightmares. You shouldn't eat right before bed. But let me take that a little bit further. You shouldn't eat at least a couple of hours before you go to bed. So it's not just right before you go to bed. Right. If you're going to go to bed at 11, then don't eat anything after 9. I try not to eat anything after 8.
Right. You want more like 3 hours before you go to bed.
Then there you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
so why is that?
Well, we go back to kind of what we discussed last week, the parasympathetic-sympathetic situation, okay? So remember, I use those terms a lot. So the patients who come to me when we're talking parasympathetic-sympathetic, they start to understand, oh, now I know how I feel when I'm in sympathetic. So that's more anxious, you have more stress, you have more depression, you're not sleeping as well, you feel more tired, you feel more bloated, you might have nausea, you might have more acid reflux. These are things that we associate with that sympathetic state. When we get over to parasympathetic, you're going to sleep deeper. You're going to heal your body better. You're going to feel more rested. Okay, so these are the things that we're shooting for, is to get you more into parasympathetic sleep. If you're eating and your body's trying to digest the food, it's busy doing something else, okay? And that's not healing your body, because your body needs to have, basically, you need to almost be in a fasting state for your body to heal. Now, a lot of people don't know that. We haven't talked about it a lot.
No.
So till now. But that's one of the reasons intermittent fasting works really well. And I'm a big proponent of intermittent fasting.
All right, explain that. What's intermittent fasting? Like fasting one day, eating the next, fasting the next day? Okay.
No, we're talking hours in the same day. So there are people who say, I can't go without 3 or 4 meals a day. Right. I mean, they're out there, right? We teach our children, eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Have a snack after school.
I eat 2 meals a day.
Yeah, so I eat 1. And it's going to sound really crazy,
One
right?
big one?
Well, 1 meal. That's not a big one. So because of my schedule, I'm at work usually by 7:30 in the morning. Very similar to you, I get up very early. So I tend to bring a coffee, right? And I put certain things in my coffee, like...
cream and sugar?
No sugar. I don't do any
Or
sugar.
the stevia,
So, and I don't do any of that.
Oh.
I don't need to.
Okay.
But I use what they call medium chain triglyceride MCT oil. Now, I know you're gonna laugh, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
So
me too.
what is that? So we're getting into some very interesting stuff here. So when I put that in, and you got to be careful when you start with this stuff because it can have a little bathroom effect if you have too much.
Oh boy. Okay.
So you usually start off with a teaspoon. I'm up to a tablespoon. That's about all I do once in the morning. The interesting part about it is it mixes in with your coffee. You can also use butter. And there are people that, like David Asprey, who's on the internet, he talks about his bulletproof coffee. So he puts MCT, puts butter in it, he puts his coffee in it. I put a little bit of heavy cream, not half and half, not milk, nothing light, no oat milk, no almond milk. I don't do any of that. I go full fat because the fat helps our brain. So when I wake up, your body the cortisol's already shot up your sugar a little bit because that's one of the things that we need to function. We need to get up out of bed and function, right? So we're feeding the muscles, we're feeding the brain, and now I'm going to feed it some fat. So interesting about MCT, it's a shorter, what we call a medium chain triglyceride. So it's a shorter fat, which is used immediately by the brain. So you get your punch in the morning. It's like, I'm like energized by the time
I thought we're trying to eliminate fats.
No. Fats are good. We don't want to be afraid of fat. You want to be afraid of trans fats. You don't want the canola oils and the corn oils,
Right,
okay?
okay.
You don't want those fats. We're talking super good kind of fat. So what do? I do avocado oil. I don't put that in my coffee, though.
Of course not.
I use coconut oil, or basically coconut, the extra virgin coconut that you can get at like Costco. It's in a jar. And in the north, it's solid. Down in Florida, it's a liquid because it's warmer down there. And then I use olive oil if I need to. But those are the only 3 oils that I bring into my house. So I don't do any mazzolas, corn oils, canola oils. I can't find a salad dressing. I don't do soybean oil. I don't do any of those because they have a bad effect. Okay? So I'm trying to give myself good fats because our body will use the good fats. And that sustains you longer. So I do not need to eat breakfast, okay? And the fat doesn't raise my blood sugar, doesn't affect my insulin. This is getting more complicated here.
Okay.
So now I go to lunchtime. I always have a can of sardines in my bag when I go to work, just in case I didn't eat enough at dinner the day before. Am I hungry at 12 o'clock? So sometimes I'm not hungry. And most of the time, I will tell you, I'm not. So I work through lunch. I'm doing all of my paperwork and my clinical notes and things of that nature. And I can get till 6 o'clock at night. Now, a lot of people...
And that's when you eat?
And that's when I eat. Now, my meal is never bigger than a lunch plate. Okay? Mm-hmm. And I don't need to overeat. So I'm in autophagy by 16 hours.
You don't have like a piece, like a green apple or a banana during the day or something? Or, no.
Any food that you have that affects your insulin, causes your insulin to rise, will kick you out of the fasting state. And the idea is that you're in the fasting state. So when I finish eating dinner, I try to finish by 7 o'clock, if not by 6:30.
Yeah, 6:30.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now I go and I'm fasting. So think about this. The body has to be in autophagy in order for us to repair ourselves. And you can't have any food in the pipeline. Okay? So 16 hours, your body starts to go, oh, I can clean up the mess. Okay, I go around and I'm like, have you got a virus in you, you stupid cell? Okay, you get to die. You got cancer in you, you get to die. Your body goes around and cleans up. So I'm killing off the viruses, the cancer cells, the cells that aren't functioning too well. We're rejuvenating our body. Okay? So I do pretty close to a 22, 23, 24-hour fast. Okay? And I do that every day. Now, there are people that don't ascribe to that. They'll do 2 meals a day. They want a 6-hour window. So like maybe from 1 to 7 or 12 to 6, they can have a lunch, they can have a dinner. Okay? And that's fine. I do that sometimes. But when you are doing that, you're shortening that fasting state. And now you need to consider doing a 2-day fast. So you don't eat any food in the 2-day fast. I find the 2-day fast harder to do
Other
than I
than
do.
water.
Well, you can do coffee and tea. You just can't put much in it, right? You can have fats because they don't affect your insulin blood sugar. So there are ways to get through the fast. That's a whole nother,
All right, so when
that's a
people
whole
hear,
nother
when
conversation.
people hear fast, they think you're not eating.
Right. No,
There are people who go on like a 5-7 day fast.
Yeah.
And water. That's all they're
so
having.
I'm sorry, but I think that's very traumatic to the body, and I don't ascribe to a water fast. That's me personally. There are people who do.
For
I know they
religious,
do.
there are.
I understand that, but for me personally,
Yeah.
I am not going to do that.
Obviously not today. I ran into somebody who listens to this show. They came into it maybe sometime in early November. So they haven't really been on since day one. They wanted to know about weight loss in diets for the future. Just putting that out there. I told them that I would let you know. And it is that time of year. I think a lot of people are in January concentrate on weight loss.
Well, yeah, and so this is where I've actually had a group of ladies that are asking me to put together a Zoom. We'll do like an hour, maybe an hour and a half. They're gonna pay for it, and I'm keeping the price extremely reasonable. So we're talking doing 6 months for $60, and I'll exactly keep it reasonable, because people feel like all this information out there costs hundreds and hundreds of dollars, and it's not that difficult. It's more difficult to do what I'm telling you to do than it is to listen, okay? So it's partly educational. And how can I get you through the process? So I'm going to show you where the pitfalls are, how to get through it, how do you do it, how do you transition into it? Because the transition, and I'm going to talk about ketogenic diets, but the transition is what everybody hates because they get a quote-unquote the keto flu, okay? There's a way around that.
Getting into ketosis, right?
You want to be in ketosis. Yeah. And so I'm basically... I can alternate between the fat fasting and the sugar fasting, so I can do both because I've been doing it for so long. So I have what they call body fat adaptation, and I am now able to go back and forth, right? But you can't do that at the beginning. In the beginning, you need to be more careful because the carb addiction is real. It is. It is like you'll go searching through your cupboards, okay?
Like an addict.
Exactly.
I want to talk about sinus health. Would diet, or how does diet affect sinus health?
Well, there we go. We're right back to the sugars. Okay, so all your processed sugars, your processed grains, your soda, and there are a lot of people that still drink soda, and those foods create inflammation. And if you have some allergies and things, I hate to say it, that create more histamine. So certain foods for some people create more histamine, but alcohol creates more histamine too. So it's another reason why when you have a bunch of drinks and you're out with your friends and you go home and you fall into bed, you don't sleep very well. You might go to sleep right away.
Yeah, but the sleep isn't quality sleep.
But it's not quality sleep, and it's going to wake you up, and you're going to be like, you're lucky if you don't have a hangover in the morning, right? But you really need, that's where you're like dehydrated, because alcohol dehydrates you. Right. And then you think, oh, I got to pee all night long. And that's not true either. And I have people that say, well, I start shutting off my water. I don't drink a lot of water after noon. I'm like, that's not healthy.
That's not good.
No, that's not healthy. So the reason that you're doing this is because you're having that terrible sleep, and that sleep can create more apnea. We all have a tiny little bit of some apnea, okay? But you don't want to have it so that it's disrupting the sleep.
Well, you were talking last week about not GERD. Well, you were talking about GERD, but acid reflux.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the symptoms that we get when our nose isn't functioning well. So think about this. The reason you open your mouth to breathe through the mouth is because the nose doesn't get the airflow that it needs.
I've had acid reflux maybe in my life 5 or 6 times ever.
Right.
So I don't, it's nothing chronic. But what would cause it as a one-off?
Well, we just talked about it. You could have alcohol. It swells up your nose.
And that would cause...
And you're snoring, right? So think about the times that you snore. Are you overtired? What have you eaten?
Eating late?
Eating late. Yeah, you got all that food in your stomach, and it hasn't passed into the duodenum, and so now we've got some slushy, acidy food in there, and it's going to regurgitate up into the back of your throat. And as a dentist, when I'm looking at people's mouths, when I'm doing an assessment, I'm looking for those things because some people don't even realize they have it until I say, do you wake up with a bad taste in your mouth occasionally? And they're like, oh, yeah. So there's something called silent GERD or silent reflux because they're not aware of it. But over time, that can cause stomach cancer and especially esophageal cancer. So you really want to kind of not go to bed on a full stomach. No. I say this all the time. And we go do Thanksgiving and everybody's falling asleep in the living room because they're in a carb comatose state.
But there are circumstances where, all right, we got tickets to a concert, tickets to a show, and it's at the casino, or wherever. It doesn't matter. It could be in Hartford. Let's grab a bite to eat before the show, and then the show's over at 11. But you're home hopefully before midnight, and you're like, oh my goodness, I can't get you need a reservation here. Oh my, there's the wait is 2 hours and the concert starts in an hour and we can't get on there. So what do you got to, well, I got a few crackers in my, we'll have to grab something on the way out. You grab something on the way out and they're like, oh, the restaurants are closed. We're like, screw it. I'm going to go home. I'll make something when I get home. And it's like, well, I'm not going to sit there and make a meal at midnight, but there's a bag of chips or there's something and you're not even a little hungry. You're starving. You miss dinner. And you're like, I can't go to bed. I'll go to bed in a little while, but I got to eat something first. Well, then what? You have no choice.
So I'm going to tell you how to solve that.
Okay.
This is the fun part, right?
This is why I ask. That's why you're here.
Exactly. So what are all the GLP-1s made of? Butyrate. Okay. So butyrate in our stomach, mostly in the intestine, shuts off our hunger hormone. Right? So you're starving, right? So you're depleted of your butyrate. What is butter made of? Butyrate. So you can take a teaspoon of ghee. We'll have a little chaser, water chaser, maybe whatever you've got around. And in 5 minutes, that hunger is going to dissipate.
What are you putting butter on? Bread?
Nothing. You're taking it and eating it.
A stick of butter?
No,
not
a stick of butter.
A hunk of butter?
You could do a tablespoon of butter. Now, I know. That's why the ghee is easy. Have you ever had ghee? Do you know what ghee is? Don't growl.
I know a geezer.
So
ghee.
Yeah, ghee. I like the goat milk ghee. I think it tastes the best. It sits on my counter. It doesn't need to be refrigerated. It doesn't go bad.
Oh, gee.
I know.
Folks, you're listening to The Sleep Show along with Dr. Bethaney Brenner. I am Gary Byron. You can find her online at theburlingtondentist.com. If you want to send her over an email, you can do that at your convenience. Send it to Dr. Brenner, Brenner radio, drbrennerradio@gmail.com, and 860-673-7155. And you're like, oh, Gary, I'm writing that down. Easy, no problem. I'll repeat it one more time, more towards the end of the show. Because people seem to get their nose all stuffed up, while they're sleeping, right? There are symptoms, though, that...
So there's a variety of reasons why the nose gets stuffed up, right? Part of it's how we lay down. When we lay down, we're horizontal to the gravity of Earth, right?
True.
Okay, so the fluid that's in our legs doesn't come up to the top part of our body until we're laying horizontal. So 3 to 4 hours into sleep, your nose is naturally, the erectile tissue in your nose called turbinates. Okay,
not everybody gets this.
Everybody.
I've never woken up, unless I got a cold. Well, that would be the exception.
You don't wake up. You don't wake up. You're going to open your mouth to breathe. The brain is going to say, I can't breathe through my nose, so I'm going to open my mouth and breathe. Do you ever wake up with a dry mouth?
Yes, sure.
Exactly.
Not all the time, but yeah.
Exactly. So happen. There you go. So your brain is saving you, basically. Okay. Now, if it happens all the time.
God knows I need it.
So the thing is that if you're in the middle of the night, right, the brain doesn't always want to wake up. It's kind of in that automatic state, right? Mm-hmm. It's going to breathe for you. It's going to do all this stuff for you, and you're like out of it. But when you wake up because you're gasping for air, or you've snorted, or you've had a little apneic event, and I have people say, I sit bolt right up into bed and my heart's pounding, and I can't go back to sleep. I have to get up and go sit in the recliner. I get those people.
Okay, I've heard that.
So why? Okay, so you just had an apneic event. You don't know you had one because you're not waking up gasping for air. You're not going, I'm choking.
Right.
Okay, you just wake up, and the brain is saying to me, I don't want you to die. I need to wake you up so you don't die because you need to open up that airway. So I often say to people, kind of in a joking way, when they come in, I said, obviously it worked because you're still here, right? You didn't die, but there are people who do die in their sleep.
That's the way to go.
Maybe for you.
If I had a choice, I should be so lucky. I'm not saying I'm in a rush here. I'm just saying, ideally, you'd want to go in your sleep. No pain, no gain, right?
Yeah, well, I don't know if we all want to have. You want to have a painless death.
So, is there a test? Is there a test for this?
It's called a sleep test. Yeah.
This is what you're.
And so when I do this, when I facilitate
it's part
these,
of it.
yeah. So when you facilitate this, I get a look at how well your nose is functioning. We call that a respiratory distress index. I also get to see what your oxygen desaturation is. We're not supposed to drop below 90, right? Most people, they're around 97, 98 breathing room air. Okay, because we can test that. We can put a little finger thing on you. They do it in the hospitals all the time. Cardiologists do it. We can do it. We did it during COVID because we wanted to know how well people were breathing. Okay. Oh, because I tested everybody when they came in my office. We're back to our COVID protocols right now because the flu is so.
Are we really? Oh,
I am. I am in my office because people have got the flu. So far, everybody's been good that comes in with me because we go back to the hand sanitizers. We're taking their temperature. And we're making sure they're healthy. Because I have people who are getting cancer treatments and they come in for their cleanings, and I need to make sure that they're not running into anybody that has the flu. Because
I hear the flu's bad this year.
It's very bad
and
this year.
And there's 2 strains of it, right?
Well, they didn't predict them, so they're not in the flu shot. And that's why they've got a problem.
Oh, boy.
All right. So everybody who got their flu shots are not covered for these latest strains. And so they're going around rampantly. So we had a big one after Thanksgiving, and we just had another spike after Christmas. So these are the things that I talk about with the patients. And I just had a patient who's newly on to some chemo. And I said, he called me and he's like, what do I do? And I said, okay, we're going to make sure you call us from the parking lot because I don't want you to run into anybody. We will all be masked, and we will be masked when you go into our room to get your teeth cleaned. And we go over all of that. Just make sure you've got your current list of medications and so on. You know what? His comment was, thank you so much. Nobody ever thinks about protecting us. Okay?
That's how thoughtful you are.
But the whole point is
considerate.
That I talk to my whole staff, right? So nobody comes to work sick, right? Because I'm like, do not come in here. Okay, because we are not spreading this around. Okay, we all follow protocols, and then I have people who get sick, and and I'm just going to put this out there so everybody knows: if you've got a cold and you're stuffy, you ever heard of loquat honey?
No.
This is a tip. Listen carefully, readers and listeners. Here's the thing: loquat honey. You can go on Amazon and buy it. It's expensive, but it's got the Chinese herbal remedy called loquat in it. It will clear up your nose so you can breathe in minutes.
Where do you buy it?
Amazon. You can get, if you've got an Asian store somewhere, you might be able to get it. I stock it into my office so people can get it from me. They don't have to go worrying about where they, have to order it and all that sort of thing. But it's an amazing, and you put it in your tea and you drink the cup of tea. Or like one of my hygienists does, she gives a little half a teaspoon to her kids every single day.
Yeah.
As a preventative.
I had a grandmother that used to do that, yeah.
And it works amazingly. So you're getting the benefit from the honey.
I got to get some of this.
It's great stuff. Great. And I tell everybody in my office. And so now we're sharing it with the world.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I've only got about 2.5 minutes. It's all yours, Doc.
What would you like me to talk about? Anything?
Anything you'd like. If I ask a question, it'll be long, I'll just ramble.
Okay, so we'll go back to food here temporarily. What should we eat? All right, so we want to have good proteins, and I like to say grass-fed, organic, nothing that's fed these.
I've heard you say that before.
Crazy
too, yeah.
stuff. Okay, you want to eat good carbs, and what are the good carbs? Okay, because we're all like, she's cutting out the carbs with the keto diet. You can eat carbs. You're going to eat your green leafies, and here's where people mess up. because, and we've talked about this a little bit, you're going to eat your proteins and fats first and your carbs last. Why are we doing that?
I would have thought the opposite.
No, that's the restaurant business. Restaurants have trained us to have the salad first.
Yeah, right.
Okay, no, you want to eat the salad at the end of the meal. Okay?
How come I wish I'd known you years ago?
Well, they're trying to entertain you while they're cooking the food.
Yeah, it does take. I get that. It's stalling for time.
So if we're eating the carbs, we want to eat them at the end because it doesn't spike our blood sugar the same way. Okay, so you can have some of those carbs, and you can put the carbs in the salad. So you're going to get your green leafies, you get your asparagus. I like raw asparagus in my salad. I make my own salad dressing because I'm making it with good fats. Okay, and I like flavored vinegars.
Like a balsamic.
Oh yeah, I love flavored vinegars. They add a real interesting quality.
Yeah,
I also use a lot of lemon. Sometimes I'll add a little honey into it, and I'll make a very light oil, very light, not a lot of oil in there, more vinegar, and I zip it up in my little mixer blender thingy and sprinkle it. My brother goes, "Wow, this is a really good salad dressing." And I'm like, "Yep." And I filled his bowl with, some cabbage and some broccoli and the usual. And you don't need a big bowl of it. It's very satisfying, but it's also great cruciferous vegetables that lower our ability to get cancer. They're wonderful sulforanes. Sorry, that was a big word. Means those cruciferous vegetables.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You see, you and I know each other so well. You knew what my next question to you. Explain that word. You already did.
Yeah.
Very
so
nice.
all of those great vegetables, we still want to eat them. We're just going to eat them in a smaller quantity.
And folks, listen. Next time you're at the restaurant, maybe it's tonight. You say, you know what? Give me my salad after my meal, after my entree. See what they say to you.
Yeah, they'll still put it on the table.
You won't be very popular. Folks, if you'd like more information on this topic or any of the others that we've discussed on this show, simply head on over to theburlingtondentist.com. You can also email Dr. Brenner very easily, too. Just send it to Dr. Brenner Radio. That's BRENNER radio @gmail.com. And you know what I'm going to say? The old-fashioned way. That's my way. 860-673-7155. Once again, it's 860-673-7155. For Dr. Bethaney Brenner, I am Gary Byron. Until next weekend, have a good one, everybody. So long.